I am going to go over some type formatting techniques you could use with InDesign to make your menu go a little bit smoother. I found this menu online here, this PDF. I downloaded it from the Silver Diner chain, and I thought they had some sort of interesting things going on with their typography. One of the things they do is they stack a lot of things together on single lines, so a whole bunch of information stacked up together, and thought I'd take a crack at it. So I'm going to try to figure out this type formatting method they're using. They have stacked stuff here in their headline. They have some bold type, then they have their menu items shoved over to the right, and then room for these little icons for heart healthy, vegan, gluten-free, things like that that they need to tell people about. So they use that as a trick. I'm going to look first and see what they have here in properties. Under fonts, you can see they have some script that they're using, but the one I'm going to use here is the Trade Gothic LT. And I don't have Trade Gothic LT, but I have another Trade Gothic which I could probably use. And let's go in a little closer here. So you can see here's their VG, their heart healthy, their gluten-free, they're vegan. So these are actually vector files, and I went into the PDF of this menu and opened it up in Illustrator and swiped the graphic vector files out of it and made them something I could use in my InDesign. So let's jump over to InDesign. So here we have the end result of my formatting frenzy, and I placed the PDF of the menu right into my InDesign file and used that as a guide, and I built my styles using this to get my sizes, my spacing, my tracking, all of this stuff. So here we have what I ended up with. Let's take a look at some of these things that are going on here. We have this stuff. I call this general intro, and it's got the Trade Gothic, condensed bold, 14 point with 15 point leading, and a little bit of space before, so it has a slight amount of space before each paragraph. The items here are, here's item icon, and it has the Trade Gothic once again, 14 point. It's got some spacing before it, and it's got the left indent set to 0.4375, and the first line indent is minus 0.4375, so it shoves everything over, and on the first line brings it back to where it started, and that makes room for a couple of tabs. And so here you have two tabs in here, one at the 0.4375, and here's another one in between that and the left margin, and that is where the little icon graphics will go. And so we'll take a look at that. By the way, here are these graphics, and you can see I'm using the direct select, and I'm selecting the content instead of the frame. The frame is this big, the content is this big. You might wonder, why is the content so big? Well, if I move it over, you'll see that that piece of content has all the different icons in it. So this is sort of like a little image sprite that you could use in your graphic, where you just slide it to the proper symbol you're looking for, and it places that right in here. These are placed as inline graphics in the line of type, and they're aligned by the tabs. So that's pretty cool. Below this we have, we have the description, which is very similar to the item, except it's the lighter, plain old condensed Trade Gothic 14 on 15. It has a little bit of space afterwards to space out things between the items, and it has no tabs. So that is how this thing rolled. That's how it got set up. Looks like I have a little space got added there. Okay, what about this thing here? This fresh from the griddle. That's in a style called Head 1. Its basic format is 38-point type, and nothing else very tricky on that. Now what you'll notice though is that this has, everything here is that same style. So how do we get the fresh and the from the? Well, those are deriving from head stack 1 and head stack 2. And if I go to none on the character styles, and I think I've got some more stuff here, none. This is where this all started. It was all 2 lines of type, fresh from the griddle. So head stack 1 has a character style that makes it smaller, and it takes the baseline shift and shoves it from up here down to there. So the type actually lives up here, but it shows up down here. If I select the and from, give it head stack 2, that has been formatted to be that big, and it fits in there. So you have this cool little fresh from the griddle, all built with 2 lines of text, and it's all controlled by styling. So that's pretty good. Here's a couple examples of a couple more phrases where that same set of styles was used to create that effect. Okay, now let's branch out into some other menu-like items just in general. A lot of typical menus will have their menu item, and then they'll have a dot leader going over to a tab stop that has the price. That's what this is here. So this one is item leader price. It's got the bold Trade Gothic, and here we have the tab for it. And you can see over here on this side, here's a tab, and this is a decimal tab, and that places the decimal, pulled it over too far there. Okay, it places the decimal in here, and you can align 2 decimals. You can either align to the right line or to the decimal, your choice. And that's what that one does. This has a dot leader here. This actually is 2 spaces, a dot, and another space, or period. I thought that would be a little bit less obnoxious than this really busy dotted line here. So take out even that one. So this is the standard out of the can period used as a dot leader. But maybe I want to put in a couple spaces there. I'm going to put in a space after. And now I have a little more graceful, less obnoxious dot leader. So we got that. Now here's another way of handling it. This is the way the type came. The price was right after the description. Sometimes you'll run into some problems where it's pretty tight and you don't have much room to really let the price hang out gracefully, but that's one of the things that happens with this style. So here we have it going over here. This is from description, right price is what I called it, and it has a tab over here. You can barely see it, but it's got a decimal line tab that puts the price over here. So that's what that is doing. With these having just one tab, that's what puts it over to the side. And you could dot leader that too if you felt like it. Now one extra kicker here is I made a bold price character style just to give that price a bold if I wanted it to have a bolder appearance than the rest of the description. Okay, moving on to one last trick. What if you have a small, medium, large kind of arrangement? And I'm going to make some really expensive small pepperoni. Okay, and I'm going to make some really expensive large pepperoni. So what I did here is I put in 3 tab stops. So this is a left align tab, this is a center align tab, and this is a right align tab. So this takes everything and aligns it to the right, to the left, and down the middle. So this gives you a nice tight column on a big column of prices. So it gives you a sense of alignment this way, and the medium, or I mean the center column feels fairly okay with being centered. So that is the tab situation. Now this one here is called multi-column header, and it has Trade Gothic. It's got the 3 tabs, the left tab, the right align tab, and the center align tab. And one more trick here. This, you'll notice there's a line underneath that set of things. This is paragraph rules, and it has rule below. The rule is turned on. It's a 2-point rule. It's got some offset, which moves it up and down to make it fit just where I want it to here. And you have a type of line, color of line. All these things can be changed. And that formats this line. The next one, the multi-column, is the same as multi-column header. In fact, it's even based on multi-column header. So if I change the font on multi-column header, the font on multi-column would change. Only difference with this one is that it doesn't have the rule turned on. So that is kind of a quick run through on some type formatting techniques for working on menus. What you don't want to do is do any of this spacing with your space bar, your kerning controls, any of that stuff. You want to use it by defining it in styles, setting tabs, and letting the power of the computer do all of this work for you. It'll be a lot easier.